Hello all, welcome back to Words and Pictures. Alison here with another few minutes of fun. And today I'm going to spend a few minutes just trying to revisit, reinvent, recreate, not quite recreate. I like to refresh rather than recreate some of my favourite backgrounds that I have ever made that were sort of purely accidental. They use this glorious dye from Sizzix and Tim Holtz, the Perspective Moth, which is an incredibly intricate metal die that you cut with a big shot or other die cutting machine, and you get this beautiful lace winged perspective moth. It's a really large die. I'll measure it for you. It is wingtip to wingtip 7 inches just over, which for the metric minded amongst us is 18 centimeters. And of course that makes a beautiful focal point on a journal page, on any kind of project. I've done it straddling a tag like that so the wings come off either side. But one of my other favourite ways to use it is as a mask, which is what I did on these two tags here. I was just kind of spritzing it to colour my moth. And I thought, well, I might as well put some tags behind it. And I ended up enjoying the tags, perhaps more than I enjoyed the spritzed moth. So I've never tried to do it again because I fully appreciate the joy of happy accidents. But I thought that I would like to try to be able to do something similar. So I've no idea any longer what colours I used. So I've grabbed some of the ones I think are probably about right, including one of the brilliant Mica stains, because I can see there's definitely some shimmer in there if I wave it around in the light. So I'm just going to have a little play, a few minutes of fun today with this Perspective Moth and a couple of tags, and just see if I can create afresh something that makes me happy. Let me get my craft mat fully arranged and I'll be back with you. Because I'm going to be using sprays and because I don't particularly want them going everywhere, I've put down some old wallpaper, just torn off a roll in the background, and that'll catch any extra spray, which might end up giving me some nice paper scraps to use. I've got a few spray stains. I've got Speckled Egg, Peeled Paint, and Hickory Smoke, a grey, in Distress Stain Spray. Not sprain. I hope I won't sprain anything doing this. And then I've got a couple of Oxide sprays. I've got Broken China and Stormy Sky, a couple of my favourites. The Distress Mica stain I've got, which, like the Oxides, needs shaking up because it's got all its mica will be sitting down at the bottom, because that's the way up I store them. You can store them on their sides if you like, but you'd still need to shake to get it back in. And the Oxides also need a good shake. Might as well do them together. And then I've got a couple of purpley tones, mostly Oxides, because I seem to remember there's some purple in there somewhere. But, you know, as I said, I don't want to completely recreate. I just want to be inspired by and move on from there. I cut my Perspective Moth. In my head, he's half moth, half dragonfly. What can I say? I've cut him out of mixed media cardstock. That's the range of mixed media cardstock, but really any cardstock will do. You need something that's got a little bit of heft, particularly if you want to try and use him more than once, which I'm going to, because I want to try a couple of possibilities. So first step, oh look, there's a bit of scrap paper stuck to that one. First step, I'm going to have him quite centrally on my tags. I'm going to take maybe Hickory Smoke first of all, a little neutral, and go gently across the tags. And to that I'm going to add some Speckled Egg. The other reason you want him fairly heavy duty is you don't want him flying away the minute you spray a spray near him. If you've got just lightweight paper, the chances are it's going to go walkabout. I'm just dabbing the nozzles of my spray, having spritzed them, just as a sort of preventative measure against future clogging. I think what I want now is going to be some of this Stormy Sky, something chalky. Yes, you see, that's the hint of purple. I did think that it might be. I thought that might be it. I'm going to take a little bit of this holly branch across the bottom to sort of be trees and leaves. And then I want to regain a bit of the purpliness with this one down at the bottom. And I think that might be enough. So the thing I'm going to have ready is another tag. I don't mind that it's the papery one, onto which I can just pick this up. There he is, masked underneath. I could use him, I could let him dry like that and have him green and blue, beautiful. But what I want to do is, in fact, I'm going to do two. What I want to do is use him again. So instead, I'm going to allow him to just rest onto two tags there and let some of that ink just soak into the tags underneath. With luck, who knows? Yes, lovely, subtle outline of the Perspective Moth onto those tags. So pop them aside and let them dry. And let these carry on drying. What I might do is just have a little spritz of water to just loosen up some of these splotchy bits, and just also because I've got oxides in here, that water will allow them to do their magic oxidization chalky bit. If there's a bit too much ink going on and I'm worried that it's going to spoil the outline of my beautiful Perspective Moth, although there is something about that softness that is just magical. I don't know if you can see, that's the oxides doing their beautiful chalky thing. Pop those to another side. I'm going to run out of sides quite quickly, aren't I? And so for this next go, let's just mop that up a little bit so that I'm not putting the tags down onto completely wet space. I would usually do this spritzing in my cardboard spritzing box, which can be an old pizza box. I happen to have the Tim Holtz carton, which means that you can spritz to your heart's content and it won't go everywhere. This time I'm going to put the tags off center with one another, lay him down again. And I really am quite liking the purpley tones. So I think I'm going to go again with the speckled egg, just as my starting point, just because I'm mad for speckled egg. I think it's such a beautiful colour. I'm going to take, oh, that's what I'd like to add to these while they're still wet, while it'll still travel. It's just a couple of splashes dropped off the edge of, yes, see, look, dropped off the end of the tool. That's broken china, Distress Oxide spray. And I'm going to let those go over there to dry. I'm getting a bit too much ink down at the bottom here, so another little dab. So even though I said I've set them aside to dry, I was keeping a little eye on them over there just to see what was going on. Where were we? Speckled egg. Ooh, I do think I want a little touch of maybe shaded lilac, which bizarrely I don't seem to have in a spray, although I'm sure I've got it. So I'm just getting that ready there because I'm going to want to dab that on in a minute. So here's my shimmering mica from the holly branch. That's quite splattery, quite spotty, so a little spritz of water will just loosen it up and let it spread. Really enjoying the slightly lilac tones of the Stormy sky, so I'm going to add that again. And then what I want is, as well as a couple of splashes of the broken china, is I'm going to add some of this shaded lilac using a brush so that I can just let that take its place with a hint of purple. I think he may have moved, which means we might have an even blurrier one than before. I quite like the hickory smoke too, because the hickory smoke also has a hint of purple about it. So I'm just going to let that happen across the middle. Let's lift him up, see whether he's completely vanished. No, look, there he is. I'm going to get rid of this whole lump of ink here. Too much. And I do really like that hit of purple coming in. Now, should we keep him like that, or are we going to try and print him again? I haven't got another piece of paper. I must have another piece of paper. Oh, look, I've got... is just lay him down on the edge of the thing there. The ink is still quite wet, so I should have time. I've got a watercolour pad here. This is why you always have spare paper hanging around. I'll just, so that you can see him, I'll just print him on the corner of there. And then he will still, of course, have ink of his own for using on a project. I'm just pressing that down. I hope I'm still in shot. According to my camera screen I am, but I've noticed that once you turn it into a video, it's not always in the same place. So that's a subtle one, but there he is, beautifully green and ready to go. And then I'm also keeping a little eye out on what's going on here. And I do want a little bit more of this purple, as I was saying. So now I'm just going to pick up the ink that is around and about on the mat. Add that, so add some purple bits to the green. Softening. And if you've been keeping an eye out in this corner, you'll see that some of that broken china splatter has gone walkabout into the background. And I'm thinking I'd quite like a bit of purple over here too. A bit more of this soft purple that is now kind of a mixture of Stormy Sky and a mixture of the shaded lilac. Just adding to the effect. And I think actually I'd like it over the body of the dragonfly too. Oh, see, he really is a dragonfly in my brain, isn't he? That's the second time I've done that. Perspective Moth. So that I'm now giving some colour, and it's purple colour. Purple, it's light lilac. To the body of the dragonfly himself. And letting what happens happen. It will soften, and it will especially soften if, again, I go with a little spritz of water. But this was exactly what I loved about what I created completely by accident that time, was it was very loose, very free-flowing, very sort of impressionistic. But I'm liking what's going on now. And the joy of having offset these tags is that he's now sitting at different heights. So if I want to create a pair of tags again, which, as you know, I do love to do, I've got him already creating some of that composition for me. I'm just, as you can see, popping on another couple of splashes of the Stormy Sky, just because and I think I'm about ready to set those, so I'm going to get the heat tool onto them before they can do any more spreading out. So quick little blast with the heat tool just to capture. I really like the balance now of splattery splotchiness and softer spritzed areas. As the paper curls up, you will find that ink will run again. So again, keep an eye out if there's something going somewhere you don't want it to. You're in charge, slightly, of what the paper does. So just tilt it in the other direction. If something's running somewhere you don't want it to run to. And your other ally in that is your paper towel or cloth, where you can just dab away anything that is not making you happy. But I think it's really good to have some areas of contrast. It's really nice to have those moments of soft ink just moving and really structural, textural, splattery ink that's staying put. So I'm going to set those aside to dry a little further by themselves, because I think they've mostly done running around all over the place. And while I've got all of this on the mat, I'm just going to have a little spritz. I don't want to waste all of that. So with this one that I did earlier, with the print of him, I'm just going to pick up some colour. And again, he's sort of vanishing in the background there, but I love that. So again, this is playtime. This is not wanting to waste the ink on the mat. It's not thought through. It's not planned. It's just a gorgeous summery background. Where did that pay? Oh, well, see him. If I dry him a little more, then I could even pick up some of those splotches onto him to just vary the colour a little bit on his body. Yep, lovely inky fingers. Always the sign of a good time. Proves I'm having fun, you see. If I don't care what mess my hands have got into. So I'm just going to press him down into those. This is a version of Tim Holtz's wrinkle-free distress technique. It's such a fine dye that the splotches are not going to show terribly much, but still worth it, I think, for that extra little bit of texture. And I've still got a bit left on there, so let's just grab it for maybe a little bit of background paper. So this is where he was cut out from. So again, I'm just going to use that to pick up that inkiness, because I might stamp a quote on it. I might use it to just cut a little silhouette bird out of. Beautiful. They're beautiful, beautiful colours. Very Monet-esque, wouldn't you say? Those purples and greens. It's like the garden at Giverny. Let's pop that down. I'll clean this so you can see. It will all just come away from that acrylic crafting mat. And I don't seem to have got very much on the surrounding paper. There's a little outline, but I've been pretty good about staying on the mat with my sprays. There we go. So I think what I'll do is I'll dry these fully, because there's one last little thing that happened on those other backgrounds that I do just want to recreate today. I like him not together. I like him not meeting. Let's put that there, that there. Oh, but then he's meeting in the middle, so it must be you. You're going to be the one that's not at the right height. Yeah. Or even that way around. See, my brain has already gone to composition, either of a quartet or of those two pairs. So, back in a second, and I'll just show you the final little stage of these backgrounds. The thing I'd like to do with these backgrounds is just add a little bit of text stamping detail, and Tim Holtz has all kinds of glorious background stamping details, advertising or slogans. This one comes from On the Farm, CMS 303. So I'm just going to peel that off, pop it onto, well, in fact, maybe I won't. I was going to say I'll put it on an acrylic plate to stamp, which would mean I get a full stamping, but maybe what I want to do is have something a little more subtle by peeling it on and off to get that effect. And I'm going to try it. It's a risk. I'm going to try it with a couple of shades of purple. So this is Villainous Potion Distress Oxide. It's a full-on kind of a colour, so I might just try it on a sort of one that I've got sitting around here, because it might just be too much for me. I'll ink that up. Let's get on camera shot. Gently. I'm not putting masses of ink on, and let me just have a look at, oh, that's subtle enough. That's good. So ink up again. And as I say, I'm just going to kind of partially peel on and off, and then another little touch of it. So it's just giving me a little touch of something that I don't even need to know what it's saying. It's actually saying flour, feed, corn, meal, coal, salt. That's not the interesting thing to me. The interesting thing to me is just that little touch of detail that's sort of almost subliminal. It's not really, it's not a feature. It's a little touch, and you can see that I'm, as per usual composition, heading in one direction and then going for somewhere slightly opposite. A little bit extra here. And because the oxides are opaque, they will show up over lots of the other things going on. Probably not over the shiny mica, but that's fine. But if I were to stamp with a distress ink as opposed to a distress oxide, the chances are it might not give me a very good look, because it will always be in conflict with the oxide that is already there on the tag. And distress ink will rarely win in a battle with distress oxide. So that's the last little bit of stamping. I'm going to let these dry. They're only backgrounds at the moment. It's a few minutes of fun. I will probably, as I did with the two I showed you right at the beginning, do some minimal collaging over the top. I might do some doodling, as you can see, a little bit of edging. But for now, I'm just really happy that I've found my way to a similar kind of background with that beautiful perspective moth used as my mask. And who knew, a bonus pair as well, and some that I can use on other projects or a background in some journaling, and all that just from a few minutes of fun. Hang around to see a little musical montage. If you've enjoyed today, it would be grand if you could hit the thumbs up button, leave me your thoughts and comments below. It's been so lovely reading how much you're enjoying what's going on here on the channel. I'm really thrilled that so many of you decided to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching again today, and happy crafting all.